Oh, it's been a crazy, 72 or so hours with a soccer match this past weekend, a city council meeting that seemed to just drag on forever. But props to all of you that made it to the match on Saturday that were at city council or city hall for the city council meeting last night. We're going to talk about all that stuff, plus a little bit more. Let's get this thing going. Welcome to the Podcast of Champions. This is the Orange and Black Soccer Cast.
And the air leaves Alex Stadium in one large exhale. Trouble. A Rosarena's beat. Orange County opens the scoring. It's Thomas. Kuninga scores! The old guard with a new trophy.
This is the Orange and Black Soccer Cast, the first and only podcast dedicated to Orange County Soccer Club, its fans, and supporters. Follow us on Twitter at OCSC_SoccerCast or on Facebook at Orange and Black Soccer Cast.
How's it going, Orange County? Welcome to another episode of the Orange and Black Soccer Cast, the first and only podcast that's dedicated to Orange County Soccer Club, its fans, and supporters. I'm your host, Ray Samora, and I'm here to take you through this journey as we discuss all things Orange County Soccer Club. Really quick, let me bring him on to welcome, as he always is here with us this season, and I think even last season, up in Reno, Brad.
We won a championship with me here. How could you forget that I was on the show last season?
I forget a bunch of stuff. I'm gonna butcher our guest's name. That's guaranteed. We know that's gonna happen here. But let's just do this. Let's bring our guest on because we don't want to keep him waiting too long. Back on the show. Welcome back. We've got Dan Rutstein. I got it right. I got it right. Better. See, I wasn't thinking about it when I said it, so it just went through there. He's the president of Orange County Soccer Club. Welcome back to the show. First and foremost, I just want to get your, thoughts and your impressions and how you're feeling last night into today after what the city council had to say as far as giving the club at least one more guaranteed season at Championship Soccer Stadium. What were your thoughts when you heard that, leaving the city hall meeting and then going into today?
Well, the first thing I want to say for those watching on video, apologies, I'm not better dressed. I had my suit on last night and I don't put it on very often anymore. But tonight I'm tired of dressing up for council meetings. I just want to go back to wearing our playoff t-shirt from last year to remind ourselves of the soccer part of the job that we do here, not just the council meeting part. Look, as you said right up front, it's been quite a 72 hours for the club, from having literally every seat sold out in our biggest crowd we've ever had. More people came to the game against LA Galaxy 2 than did to the Western Conference final, which says a lot about that game and what it all symbolised. And then obviously 72 hours after the game, an extraordinary number of fans decided that they were prepared to put up with what we thought would be a 3 or 4 hour council meeting, and ended up being, I think it was 5 hours and 43 minutes before we got to the meat of the evening. But, I got up there, I'm losing track of time now, but what felt like relatively early in the evening, we got there early enough that I was one of the first speakers, and I stood up there, dressed up nicely, and spoke very politely to the council and said, look, we've come here for one thing. We want you to guarantee that we can play in Championship Soccer Stadium next year. That was really all we wanted. We didn't want to make them sit through our presentations. I apologise for the bad language of some of the messages they'd had. I was very nice to them. We was clear on what we wanted. We sat down. We waited 4 hours, and then eventually we got to the discussion. And I mean, the discussion was quite something. But at the end of it, they voted 5-0. It's the second time we've got 5 against Galaxy this year. But they voted 5-0 that we can play at Championship Soccer Stadium in the 2023 season. And at the end of the day, that's what we wanted, and that's what we got. And by the time we left, we were tired, but we had the victory. And next year we'll be back at the stadium that we all love.
Yeah, it was a very long evening. For those of you that didn't attend or didn't follow along either on social media or actually watch the video, I think Brad was watching some of this video, if not the whole thing last night. I'm going to give Brad credit for this. He turned this, he related to soccer, like World Cup draw. We got the group of death. We're grouped in with climate change, some sort of asphalt concerns. And there was, I think, one other topic that I can't remember off the top of my head, but I mean, we got in that group, and I think I know my contacts at the club were prepared for a long night because we knew that there was going to be some really lengthy discussions for some of those things. Props, though, I know with the city council, I think it was council member Argon. I can't remember how his last name is spelled. I think Agrin. The asphalt item agenda came to call, and he sort of didn't want to waste too much time on that because I think he knew that was going to be a very lengthy discussion if you really focused on it. So he was, I think, nice enough to sort of, let's talk about it briefly. Let's push it over to the next meeting because that's something we can do. And then it allowed for time to get onto this topic of the stadium. I wasn't unaware until someone brought it up late in that meeting that I guess at 11 o'clock, they can decide, do we continue with topics or do we push them off to the next meeting? So I guess everyone that was there was glad that we got to the meeting last night and not have to come back another Tuesday evening in the future. Right. What was, so now that the clubs had time to sort of discuss what the city did, it did extend it, but there are a few little requirements or requests that they're going to have. And they also are requesting the talk about what the turf is going to look like in the near future. Any discussions that the club had, anything you can say that the club has discussed based on what we knew now that you guys have had a few hours to digest it all?
Yeah, I mean, look, we put out a statement last night. I think I put out a video statement, which watching it again makes me look very tired, but I think it was because I was very tired, as were all the other people there. And the main part of that statement I put out last night was a thank you. It was a thank you to the fans who attended on the night. When I said in my remarks that none of us wanted to be at the council meeting, that was not an understatement. None of us wanted to be at the council meeting, and not in a mean way. We just, soccer fans want to watch soccer, and soccer club executives want to organise hot dog sales and bring people into the stadium. None of us wanted to be there. And as the evening dragged on, I think we felt that, but we got to the discussion and they gave us what we wanted. And I think we woke up this morning, put out another sort of statement, exactly where the club's position is. And, I've watched back the discussion of the video from last night during the day. And to be honest, our position hasn't changed. We're still pleased. We're still, I think season tickets like push came out today. And to be clear, not in some kind of, greedy commercial way, but we couldn't really do much with season tickets until we knew where we would be playing. And now we've got certainty. I know people wanted to vote with their feet and people have been buying their season tickets. And we're pleased to be back there. And, there is going to be I think at the next meeting, it wasn't entirely clear, but at a meeting soon, there'll be a discussion about whether they want to turf the field or not. There's some discussion about making sure the stadium's more available for community use. And, to be honest, I'm not worried about any of those things. We just wanted to be able to play there. The MOU's been rolled over, actually, thanks to an amendment by Councilman Carroll. Some of the risky terminology in the MOU, which said maybe it could be terminated at any time, that was actually removed. But even before that, the city lawyer said they would never terminate it just for the sake of it anyway, which, I'd like to think we weren't too worried about that, but we're definitely not worried about that now. So from our point of view, we get to play at the stadium. I spent the morning phoning city staff, many of whom I have a great relationship with. I've only been in this role, as you know, for not that long, and I didn't have much to do with the city before. That was, Jeff Garner's job. But the meetings I've had with the city workers at, I guess what you would call working level, they're all very nice people and we like working with them. And I called everyone up today and we talked about the fact that we get to work together for another year and talk through some of the practicalities of preparing the fixtures for next year. And it was all very amicable. We're all very pleased that thanks to last night, we get to do more of this. And so our position remains the same. We're very happy for us. We're very happy for you. And we're very grateful to both you, the fans, and the council.
Yeah. So one of my first questions for you about this whole dilemma, first of all, very satisfied with the outcome. Obviously, 2023 is guaranteed. Hopefully we have talks with the city that go well. But is the team willing to play on turf? I know turf isn't necessarily or it doesn't need to be grass in USL. A lot of other teams do play on turf fields, although not ideal. But what's the team's official stance on the turf?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, look around the league. There's turf. There's stuff that I'm not even sure I recognise from one of the games we played away this year. I don't know what it was, but it was not a great surface. There's baseball markings. There's all sorts. We love the facility that we have. This is why we make such a big fuss about wanting to stay at the stadium. Look, there's nothing in the league rules that would say we would have an issue around it. I don't know how quickly it will happen. I'm not going to tell you that I am an expert on conversion from grass to turf. They're going to come back and they're going to report on it. There'll obviously there's quite a significant cost to it, upfront cost, even if the maintenance costs are lower than would be on grass. I don't know if they'll be able to do it in time for next year. We would rather play on grass. Our players would. The scouts who are potentially trying to recruit our players to European teams, which, as you know, is a huge part of what we're trying to do at this club, I think would rather see video of our players on grass. But if it's a stadium with turf and it's a good turf field, then that's fine. We're not going to refuse to play there if they turf it. So we'll wait and see what the report says. We'll wait and see what the timing looks like. But from our point of view, the stadium, the seats and the changing rooms and all of that stuff, that's the bit we care the most about, and we've got that. So we'll cross the turf bridge when it comes up at the hopefully next shorter council meeting.
All right, and then also the city is part of the deal that's being made with the extending the MOU, is asking the team to come to good faith bargaining. Is there anything, I know I don't want to put you in a risky situation, but is there anything that you are looking for, then the team is looking for, to get out of these bargainings? Anything in specific that you guys are hoping to get other than use of the stadium beyond 2023?
Yeah, I mean, so there's two parts to this. So, we are guaranteed that we're playing there next year. That bit was very clear. And then part of it was the staff were directed to start talking to us about what a future arrangement might look like. So the most important thing is, we can submit our fixtures to the USL. They can put it into the big jigsaw puzzle machine that they do, and then work out who we're going to play when next year. So that's the most important thing, because obviously without that, we had a real risk about what was going to happen next year. In terms of the longer term, we are excited to sit down with the city staff and talk about what a longer term arrangement would be. We wrote, I can't remember exactly how long the document was, but when there was a request for proposals for potentially doing more at the stadium in terms of taking over some of the facility, we spent a lot of time putting a response together. It was very detailed. So from our point of view, we would love to explore a version of this where we actually do more. But for now, we're grateful just to be there for next year. And maybe the discussion will be, we roll it over again and we just do the same thing in 24. Or maybe we'll be able to do a bit more there. But I think for us, we want to go into this meeting and just have a good faith discussion about what the future can look like. And a lot can change. They're worried about community use. That's very clear. We're very happy to work. We've never sought exclusivity. So we're very happy to talk to other community groups. I mean, there's been games played the day before our games, other sports. There's been games played after our game. One night we were in the stadium having a beer and a bit of pizza after our match had finished. It was one of the 5 o'clock kickoffs. And then some kids came and started, not some kids, but there was a kids' cup final played on the pitch afterwards. We're fine with that. We don't mind that sort of sharing. So we're up for sitting down, talking to them and seeing where we get to. no real expectations at this stage. We just want to make sure that it's a fair deal and obviously gives us as a club the things we want and gives you, the fans, the sorts of things you want to see in a stadium.
Perfect. I don't know, Dylan. I know you mentioned depending on how the answer came here, you might have a question. Did he answer your question, or do you have something else you want to ask really quick?
I think you did, Dan. Just pop on and say congratulations. And I hope you take a little bit of pride from this first hurdle.
Look, thank you. And I think I might have said this last month, having me on either immediately after council meetings or the day after, you're not necessarily going to get the best version of me in terms of interviews. But, I've obviously been with the club for a year and a half doing the various jobs that I've been doing. But obviously when I was asked to take over at the helm of the sort of running the non-football side of the business, when Jeff moved on, and a whole list of things I wanted to work on. I didn't think we'd be immediately embroiled in a high-profile discussion, and I'd find myself being interviewed on every manner of media. But at the end of the day, the job of the president is to do whatever we need to do on the non-football side of the business to make sure the business is as successful as possible. And this meant going through this painful and strange and confusing and difficult process. But I think we've come out the back end of this in a remarkable place. So, and I think I'm right in saying this. Now I'm actually going to ask you guys a question in a second, if you don't mind. As you know, I host podcasts, so I know how to ask questions. So one of my colleagues in the front office said this to me, I think, between finding out about the whole thing with the Galaxy and that first council meeting. The bond she felt with the fans has never been stronger, because it's like anything in life. You don't know how much you value something until someone tries to take it away from you. It was amazing last year when we won the trophy, and there was quite a lot of you flew to Tampa. And remember, we're still in a bit of a pandemic, so going to Florida in a pandemic is not great. But a lot of you flew to Florida and supported. A lot of you were at the airport when the Flyers flew back. That's real commitment from real fans. But this is at another level. This is, going to work, writing letters, appealing to the broader community, going to council meetings, which you've now done twice, keeping this in the news. Like, it's a lot, and it means an enormous amount to us in the front office that the fans care about the club. It's not just a fun place to go and eat tacos and drink a beer on a Saturday. Like, this has real meaning. And, we all saw the speeches at the last council meeting. I mean, there were some of us in front office nearly in tears. Just the way, Blaine with his kid and the way Charlotte spoke, it was so powerful. And so none of us wanted to go through this, but now we're through the back end of this. I think the relationship between, the club, the front office and the fans could not be closer. And we're excited to go on this journey with you next year back at the stadium. And I just think, as a club, because we've been embattled, we're all closer together. So actually, I'd like to ask you guys, I don't know if, maybe I'm just seeing things because I want to, but do you feel a connection with the club stronger now as a result of all of this?
If you don't mind, I'd like to take this one first. As a fan who has been on both sides of the scenario, where we have had, up here in Reno, a team that's collapsed or folded, and now against the wall, we've had a team in Orange County that has definitely rebounded. In both scenarios, the fans are the same, because obviously, first and foremost, especially in a league like the USL, it's a lot more personable. You get to know these players. We are very fortunate. We get to talk to players like Alex, who we'll have on later, like Milan, like Brian, and so on and so forth, who we build these bonds with. And there's no other league that I've ever been with in any other sport that is this personable with players. And, it's more than just, for a lot of these fans, it's more than just, you go to a game, you watch a game, you go home after the game. For a lot of these fans, it's you go to the game, you talk with players after the game. The players are building genuine connections with the fans, such as you have like Charlotte and Patrick Rakowski. And and it's really, Orange County has done something in a broad community. The Orange County area, the Irvine area, is a lot bigger than up here in Reno. But what you guys have is almost identical to what we had here, where not only are the players so close knit, but with the community, and they're reaching out and volunteering and creating these bonds. And one thing we always ask players when they come on here is to do a local shout out. These players know the community just as well as the people who have lived in the community for 10, 20, 30 years and so on. And it's really important to see that in this community, even though I'm personally not a part of it, just knowing that the bond that I have with some of the players on the team still, Seth Kasipley, Brent Richards, Kevin Partita, just seeing that these players are still being given the chance to grow and always, learn, and now moving on to other leagues and other areas of the world. It's, we got to talk with Kobe Henry before he got to go overseas, and he's a really good person. And all these players are coming in, they're being given a really good shot, and Orange County is just doing it right. And, we appreciate everything that the team has been doing recently. And of course, the fans are going to come out and back the team up because the team is doing things right. You guys are part of the community, and we're just always so proud of it.
Let me just say one quick thing really quick on top of that, right, is the way this league is set up and the way, everything is here, this same situation can happen in anything. It could happen in Major League Baseball. It could happen in basketball, probably not to the extent where a city is going to try and pull something, but these types of things can happen. And if those situations happen in those leagues, fans aren't going to be able to stand shoulder to shoulder with ownership and front office staff. That they're going to still be in separate areas when all this stuff is going on. And that's what you have with this community-based type of team is, we're all at the city council meetings, and we're standing shoulder to shoulder with you, with James Keston, with Oliver, with Richard, with any, players that might be around it from time to time. After games, same type of thing. You're seeing that kind of connection where ownership's interacting with, and front office is interacting with fans. And even if it's just giving a nod or something like that, it's not something you get in some of these bigger, gigantic professional sports leagues and teams. I think this whole situation has just brought it that much closer, because now you have maybe two sides that maybe didn't always agree on how things are being done, or what statements are being made, or what transactions are being made with players. Fans might disagree with those, right? But in this instance, everyone had one united goal, and that's to keep Orange County at the Great Park at Championship Soccer Stadium. So it allowed for this moment where now you have this sort of bond now that you didn't have before. And I think that's a big, unique part of all this as well.
I love those answers. And I think all of my colleagues in the front office, in fact, everyone who knows me gets bored of me talking about AFC Wimbledon because they're my club at home. But, our club's been through a version of this. I mean, it is a slightly more extreme version because the club was literally moved
MK Dons, right? MK Dons?
Yeah. And so we had to start again at the bottom of the pyramid and go up 9 promotions, and now we're in League Two. But I've got friends who are Man United fans, Fulham fans and Arsenal fans and so on. But when I took my boy to his first football game in England, we sponsored the match. So, it was, today's game brought to you by, and it was my son's name on the front of the programme. We were in the dressing room before the game. We were talking to the manager. He obviously led the team out, all that stuff. And, I'm still friends when I know all the sort of club hierarchy there. But if you support Arsenal, you support Tottenham or Man United, there's no way that you as an individual can pay for your kid to, be with the manager 20 minutes before kickoff in a fixture. It just doesn't happen. And obviously those clubs are, there's nothing wrong with that level of soccer, but the bonds you form, the fact you can know players, you can interview players, it's very, very different. And when I was given the chance to work at a club like this, for me, I feel like I was bred for this, because I've grown up with a smallish team. I mean, there was more people in the stadium on Saturday and actually the West Conference final than the lowest ever Premier League crowd, which is Wimbledon against Everton, which I was at as well. It was 4,200, I think it was. So, for me, I'm used to crowds of about this size and teams where you've got access to players. And obviously, because of what happened to Wimbledon, that bond between the players and the club and the fans is so different. And look, there will be times next year that, I might come on your podcast and you might shout at me because we've just sold a player, or, the price of the food and the food trucks was higher, or we didn't open the gates when we said we would, or whatever legitimate concerns as fans and the things you get annoyed about. And that's fine. But for this moment, there was we had a shared enemy, I guess, and a shared goal. And anyone who sat through 2 council meetings, you can never forget the bond that you forged during 10 hours of local council discussions. So, we're very grateful to the fans, and I think people won't forget this for a long time.
Yeah, I think we're all excited about the outcome of that. I want to let you go, but really quick before I do, I feel like Dylan may feel left out because you mentioned Everton, you mentioned Tottenham, but you didn't mention his Hatters. So I just got to throw that in there so that Dylan feels in the conversation. He's a Luton Town supporter when it comes back to England.
Yeah, so the second lowest crowd in the Premier League was Wimbledon against Luton. And interestingly, when Wimbledon played Luton in the conference, so the 5th tier, there were more fans at that game than when we played each other towards the end of our time in, I think, the old First Division. So they've been through a bit of a journey as well.
Fun talk of lower division English soccer there. It's rare we get to do that, Dylan.
Yes, it's rare. Hey, hopefully as things have gone for AFC Wimbledon and how things have gone for Luton, hopefully that's how things can keep on with Orange County.
Absolutely. Look, I know you'd much rather talk to up-and-coming star Alex Villanueva than me. So I'll excuse
really quick
myself.
though, Dan. I want to let you know, because you don't get to do this often when you do this because you're representing the club, but I know you do a podcast. Let our listeners, if they want to check out your podcast anytime, where can they find it?
Oh, well, that's very kind. So my football podcast is America, the Beautiful Game, where we talk about the relationship between football in America and in Europe, which Oliver Wiese has been on, and people like Warren Barton, and weirdly, the Liverpool throw-in coach. And then my whiskey podcast, United States of Dramerica, which James Keston and Oliver Wiese have been on. And then I have a Hollywood podcast as well called Screaming Into the Hollywood Abyss. And the only football link there is that the exec producer of Ted Lasso, Bill Lawrence, was on that one talking about the Ted Lasso story, which was absolutely fascinating. So, yeah, I host 3 podcasts, but none of them are as good as yours.
Oh, you do not have to lie on this show. Trust me, you do not have to do it. We even know our podcast isn't that amazing. So, but we appreciate the kindness, Dan. Dan Rutstein.
Yep.
I have to just make sure I'm getting it right. President of Orange County Soccer Club, ladies and gentlemen. There you go. I'm going to just have to say it like 50 million times between now and the next time we have you on here, so that I don't even think about it.
No, I appreciate you getting my name right. And also, look, one last thing. I've said this last time and we'll keep saying it. Thank you to you guys and the broader fan base of this club and, frankly, the soccer community all over the country, because this was a journey that we went on and fan power played a huge part of it. And we are incredibly grateful to your support at matches. And now we know away from matches as well. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for taking some time to join us here on this episode. We're going to move right along. We've got another guest scheduled for this show, and he's been waiting patiently to jump on the screen here with us. So let's go ahead and bring him on. And that is Mr. Alex Villanueva from your Orange County Soccer Club. Alex, I believe this is your first time joining us on this podcast, on this show. Welcome. How are you feeling after that big win over LA Galaxy 2 over the weekend?
Thank you guys for having me. I'm feeling good. Obviously, it's a big win for the club and also for the season as well to get our confidence and going into the next 5 games, and hopefully we can do something late in the season. But I'm glad we got the win. I'm glad everybody came out to support.
Now, obviously, the season probably hasn't gone the way yourself or most of the players on the club, or probably all the players in the club, anticipated going into the season. But you have been a steady and also a very bright shining point of this club throughout the season. You've had some standout performances. As of late, you've been a pretty big standout performer. Although you don't get those big stats like goals like Milan Olowski's getting and things of that nature. But the fans do see it. I want to let you know the fans do see the work you put in there, because there's always backroom discussions that we're talking about who was the man of the match, and your name is always one of those names that comes up. Let me just, how did you come about joining Orange County this season, and have you achieved what goals you may have had coming into the season as well?
Yeah, so originally when I come from Tacoma. I came from the Seattle Sounders organization and everything like that. I remember playing Orange County last year, and I would show up to like their away games, like our away games. We would go to Orange County. I was like, oh, this is such a beautiful place to live, all this. And I just loved it. I loved being in the area. The fans were also nice when we went there. It was my first time playing in front of like a lot of fans, especially. So at the end of the season, I had the choice to go to certain USL teams, but Orange County was the main one on my list. I think it was the first one I wrote down in the off season. And so I had my agent call up Peter Nugent, and it was just right away we got picked up, and I was grateful to be here. And since I've been here, it's been a great club. They've really brought me in, and they've really trusted me with playing and being a consistent starter and everything like that. So I think it was a great choice to come here. And obviously the fans are even bigger this year after the whole 2021 USL Championship. Make sure I get my years right. But everything just planned out and worked out just great. So I'm glad.
As a young soccer player, obviously, I'm sure you notice, you see the teams that are trying to develop youth players and try and help them move on to bigger and better things. And I'm going to assume Orange County is one of those ones that you look at and you see some of these players that have played for Orange County and now moved on, players like Aaron Cervantes. Now you got like a Ronaldo Donis, who at the beginning of the season, we didn't know was going to be moving on, but he did. A Kobe Henry. Do those types of things, when you see that as a young player, does that entice you even more to potentially look at joining a club like that, knowing that maybe it's not an end step of your career, but just sort of that stepping stone to move on to bigger, better things?
Yeah, of course. That's the main plan, is to come here and play, obviously play my heart out every game and stuff like that. But the main goal is to move on and do bigger things and bring more light to the club. I think they've done great in the past developing younger players. For example, Kobe, I roomed with him for the first few months that I was here until he left. And I could see how he talked about the club and how great it was to be here and how they developed him as well. And that played an important part of me coming here, obviously. And I also just feel like I needed a lot of like game time and to be in that environment with a winning team and all that, so I could develop farther as a player. Even if it means going to the MLS or going overseas, I think this is a great place to get my foundation correct and hopefully move on to the next step later.
Are there any players on the roster for Orange County that maybe have taken you under their wing, or anyone on the team that you've appreciated the advice or the help they've given you so far this season to help achieve those types of goals?
Of course, the coaching staff also plays an important role in that. Paul Hardiman brought me in, and we do video all the time, going over games and what I can improve. I mean, Mike Orozco, I play alongside him every game. He always tells me, gives me pointers and stuff. He's an experienced dude. So, I mean, I always listen to what he has to say. And sometimes, I mean, I take it with a grain of salt because he repeats the same things. But he's really taken me under his wing and helped me improve this season, especially on the defensive side.
I'm going to hand it off. I will let Dylan ask a question too. I don't want to hog all the questions. Dylan, do you have a question for Alex?
Oh, thanks, Ray. Hey, Alex, who's got the better left foot? Is it you or Miko?
Me or Miko? I don't know. We would have to see in training. I don't know yet. We'll see.
That is a surprisingly humble answer. I expected you to just throw him under the bus immediately.
No,
I was going to ask this as a follow-up. I want to ask this follow-up. Like you've probably seen the free kick that Miko drilled in the final. Can you make that shot if you were in that situation?
Ooh. I practice my free kicks a lot, but never from that range. So personally, I don't think I could have that amount of power and technique to hit it that far. I'll work on it obviously in training so I can hit those as well. But for right now, I think Miko has a stronger shot for that type of distance.
All right, go ahead, Dylan.
Oh,
or was that your only question?
No. We've got some more. Alex, you've been six-ish months since the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
What's a local spot you found yourself going to when you're not at training?
Oh, Laguna Beach. I really love the beach. Yeah, I go with my roommates Ian and Corede. We go there all the time and just sit and enjoy the views. I feel like that's mainly it because I like to come after training and kind of sleep, get my rest. I'm a heavy sleeper. I love taking naps and everything. So, I mean, if I'm not at the beach, then I'm probably sleeping at home.
Okay, then we've got a fan question. Is Albie as fast as you have heard?
Yes, he's fast. He is fast. It's like deceivingly fast because obviously he doesn't have those quick little strides, but he moves. When he gets moving, he moves.
Are you faster than him?
Ooh, I would say I'm quicker. I would have to race him. I haven't raced him, so.
It sounds like training this week is going to have a lot of nonsense going on. A lot of kick battles, a lot of aimless sprinting around. Probably shouldn't make you dig any holes any deeper than they need to be.
Yeah.
Right, back to you.
Oh, that's all your questions, Dylan. Wow.
I've got one more, but we'll save that. We'll save that
at the end. Let me ask you this, because you mentioned you like to go down to Laguna Beach. Do you go to like the main part right there where that famous like Life Tower is, or do you go to more of the secluded areas like Thousand Step Beach or one of those other areas? What's your preferred location?
My preferred location is the West Street Beach. It's a small little beach on the side because I like the small beaches a little more, but we've lately been going to Thousand Steps, and Thousand Steps, the waves are kind of crazy there, but it's fun to get in the water over there. So I really enjoy Thousand Steps as well.
Do you surf?
I don't surf. I wish I need to pick that up.
Yeah. Is there any local, like when you're down in Laguna Beach, is there any local like coffee shop or food place that you go to any chance you get, or is it just pretty much you just go hang out at the water and then go home and eat at home?
I pretty much go out to the water and just eat when I'm at home. I mean, we went to the main beach one time and went to a breakfast spot. I paid $8 for orange juice, so I'm never gonna go there again. But it was good. It was good, but it was just too much money for me, on the beach and everything. So
how much is orange juice back in Tacoma?
Ooh, say $3 max. $3 max.
Well, they don't know what the sun is up there, so you don't have to worry about it. Thank God the season runs in the summer, because I have a lot of sympathy for you being there through the winter. That is a brutal time.
Off season is so brutal. I mean, you got the rain and it's like 32 degrees and everything. So going out to train, it's kind of difficult, but I mean, I enjoy the cold as well.
And now you've got the complete other experience, the other side of it.
Exactly.
Nice SoCal heat wave and 70% humidity constantly.
Oh, I know. I'd be sweating a lot in the game.
That has to be horrible playing in that kind of weather. I coached my son's team and we played a tournament over one of those weekends and they had to play 3 games and they were just dying out there. I'm going to let you get to your question, Dylan, but I have one more question before we get there. Alex, if you were to pop open, I don't know what you use, Spotify, iTunes Music, whatever you use to listen to music. If you went and opened it up right now and push play, what song is playing right this moment?
Ooh, that's a good one. I think probably, Paul Bear by Babytron. It's a Detroit rapper that I really like. And I think
Dylan is very knowledgeable on is it Babytron? Dylan knows that stuff.
Really? You do?
Dylan, what's your favorite Babytron song?
Hey, Alex, could you say the title of that one really quick? I really appreciate Ray throwing me under the bus because no one else is here to be thrown under the bus. Thanks, Ray. Thanks.
One more question, then I'll get to your last question, Dylan. Alex, if you had a top 5 all-time soccer player list, who's on your list? Like, who are your top 5 all-time players that you look up to, maybe want to imitate or mimic?
Ooh, that's a good question because it changes a lot. But since I was like 13, I've always loved Eden Hazard. Always put him at the top of my list. I mean, he hasn't been doing too well as of late when he went to Real Madrid, but Chelsea Eden Hazard was definitely my top one. I don't think Messi and Ronaldo count because they're just different. I mean, both of them were ridiculous. So I'd have to say Eden Hazard, Leroy Sané. I love Leroy Sané. Kingsley Coman. All wingers. Marcelo. And then probably now João Cancelo. I think those 5 are ballers.
I was gonna say we get an idea of what position you really look at, and you try and mimic your game off, right? There are all those quality wingers you're looking at and studying, right?
Yeah, of course. I used to be a winger, so I used to just watch highlight videos of all of them and used to love it. And now I'm more defensive, so I watch more defensive videos, and that's why I have respect for Marcelo and João Cancelo as well, because they can do both. And I want to be that player that does both as well.
All right, Dylan, go for it. Ask your question.
Okay, we got a couple questions. We'll make it quick. Any taco spot here in Orange County that you found that you love that you want to shout out?
Ooh, so I haven't been to that many. I forgot what this one was called. It's not even a taco shop. It's like one on the side of the road. It's somewhere in Santa Ana. I totally forgot what it was called. I think it was Angels Tijuana Tacos. I'm pretty sure. I think it's pretty good. And then, I mean, I've been to Taqueria Away as well. And I think Taqueria Away is pretty good as well.
Oh, look at that! They must be paying you well.
No.
Knowing that you're going to Santa Ana to get your tacos says a lot about you already know where to go.
Yeah,
it's certainly not going to be a bigger ranch.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, Alex. Back to the field side of things. What's been the most difficult transition as you kind of work your way back and playing as like a wing back, as a fullback? What's been the hardest part for you?
So, like I said, I came from being a winger and everything. Then I got transitioned to a left back in the academy when I was 17. And it was kind of hard because I didn't really have anybody to teach me how to play the position. So I just kind of figured it out by myself. And I remember my first professional season, they put me as a left back in my first professional game. And I think I played left back maybe 5 times before I went into that game against Sac Republic. And it wasn't a bad game. I think it was a good debut, but the defensive side, I would fly into tackles. I just didn't care. Like the defensive side, I would just try to take everybody out. And I think that worked for me that game. But then the games after that, I realized it's a lot more than just winning the ball and stuff like that. So over the years, I kind of looked at videos. I went over with coaches and stuff about my positioning, my just approach angles and all that. And I feel as if this year at Orange County, I really honed down on blocking crosses, the important defensive side of the game, because I've had so many reps in that position. And I've had coaches like Paul Hardiman, who used to be a left back when he used to play, teaching me just the proper ways to defend. And it's just been a lot easier since I've been here.
Got it. And then finally, what is your favorite vegetable, Alex? And how do you prepare it?
Ooh, spinach. And I just steam it. I love spinach.
Good man. Yeah. Good man.
He's going Popeye style there, right? Going Popeye style, just down that can of spinach and just get those big old muscles going.
Yeah,
truck people over. You turn into Adama Troy or whatever, however you say his name out there in at Wolves.
Yeah, Adama Traore. He's a big man, and he said he doesn't lift weights.
I was going to say, he lifts weights, and you could tell he's putting some like baby oil on his skin before the game. So that way, as a defender trying to grab him, you're just slipping off. That must be annoying. That must be frustrating as a defender when you're trying to stop that man.
Oh, yeah, of course. I couldn't imagine playing against him. It's huge. But, yeah, he's a good player as well. I respect him for that.
All right.
Awesome. Well, Alex, go Dylan.
I was going to say, we've got your Instagram up. on the screen already. But any final words or any places we can look for you off the pitch?
I really don't have any final words, but I would like to thank you guys for having me on the podcast, and I would like to thank any fans that are on the podcast as well for coming out and supporting us throughout the season through thick and thin. And just our last home game is against San Diego Loyal, so I hope everybody comes out to that one.
I'm sure there's going to be a nice turnout for that final game of the season. And hopefully we get to watch you guys go on a nice little run here to wrap up the season, to leave a good taste going into 2023. Alex, thanks once again for taking your time to join us tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Alex Villanueva, your left back for Orange County Soccer Club. Thank you so much for jumping on the podcast with us, sir.
Thank you guys for having me. All right, I'll see you guys later.
Awesome. It's time, Dylan, for us to go back to the classic Orange and Black Soccer Cast where there's just two of us. It's just Dylan and Ray on the podcast. Do you remember those days?
Yeah, I'll cut the camera and it'll be just like the good old days.
This is old school days, no camera. Dylan, for those that didn't watch us back in the early days when we didn't really know what we were doing, we still don't really know what we're doing, but we knew less then, right? Dylan would refuse to put a camera on. We had to I had to force him to get a camera going at some point, and he finally did. I think when we went to StreamYard, which is what we used to do this, he finally decided to go camera. Let's do this till we had guests, and it was fun. We were having a good old time. Leaves us with very minimal time to actually talk about the soccer on the pitch. We're going to just ignore the match against Monterey Bay because that was not a fun match. So we're just going to jump right into the match that was fun for all Orange County fans, and that was the last home match over the weekend against LA Galaxy 2 that saw Orange County win the match 1-0. Not the most impressive first half for Orange County, but definitely they came out with a lot more energy in the second half, made some tactical changes. I was speaking to some of the players and Coach Richard Chaplow. They all said the team needed more energy in that second half. And we saw that. I think a big part of that was Ugo Coley jumping up there and just putting press on the goalie and press on the defense whenever he had an opportunity. And eventually, Mr. Golden Boot leader Milan Olaski was able to put the ball in the back of the net. Dylan, watching from wherever you watched that match, what were your thoughts on that 1-0 victory for Orange County?
Man, I mean, to echo what you said, we were piss poor in the first half, and we are lucky that it wasn't probably 2-3-0 by the time we went into the half. But it was kind of the same thing last year, where if you're really sitting off the ball for large periods of the game, you're not going to see a lot, and you do have to hope that your strikers are going to be clinical. Ugo had a great shot to force a save, and Milan with the rebound going across goal to the far post. All you had to do at that point was hit the target, and the keeper had no chance of getting it. So they combined well for that, and it was nice to see. I feel like this game means a lot more for us fans because this is the Galaxy organization. These are people that we are probably at best incredibly annoyed with, and at worst, how should I put this?
Be nice, Dylan. Be nice.
Very unhappy with.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, Dylan, really quick, because obviously you weren't at the match at the stadium.
Correct.
But did you see, like, after Milan scored the goal, he mouthed something towards the LA Galaxy bench, although it was way across the field, but it was definitely intended for them. And if anyone found an angle of that, if you can read lips, you probably can tell what he said there, but not so friendly, nice things to say. But I want to say this, the intensity of this match from the players in the second half, awesome. I want to give props because we're looking at the highlight right now on the video feed here of the red card with the player from LA kicked Ugo Coley when he was down. Ugo got up and got in the face. I want to say this, in many other matches, we're seeing a double red there. It's sort of like what we saw, I believe, from the incident with Longmire against San Diego and Vassell, where Vassell did something, was more the aggressor. Longmire gets in the face and the ref just pulls out a double red. In this case, I think because the ref is in a great position, sees exactly what happens, and is accepting that, the player got kicked right in the gut while he's on the ground. He's going to get up. As long as Ugo doesn't take a swing or headbutt, I'm not going to give him anything. So props A to the ref. I know we like to bash refs a lot, on here for poor decisions, but I thought that was a really good decision from the ref not to do that all too common double red card for a situation like that, right? I mean, that was the right call in that situation, I feel.
Absolutely. And Ugo was smart enough. I mean, he had to have known at that point, like, there's no way Carlos Harvey's not getting sent off for being an absolute, trying to keep this family friendly, but
a-hole.
I'll go with Goon because that seems to be like the only thing he's capable of doing in this league. A couple months ago, I'm talking, this is like a multi-game suspension in the NHL. Coming across a guy and going head high. So, he's good for a red card. Preston Judd's good for a number of yellow cards, as he proved in this game. Ugo is smart enough to keep his hands down because you don't need to go and get yourself sent off there. That's not going to help you get any more playing time. It's not going to help your team win. But he wasn't going to sit there and take it. And credit to Milan as well for kind of getting in the way, especially as soon as he saw that card go. I mean, he really stepped in front and was just like, okay, we're going to go over here and you can run your mouth, but nothing in front of the ref, nothing to get yourself into any trouble. Look at that. Wow. Our producer's on it. Thankfully.
He was ready for that. He was ready to pull that video up once we knew we were going to talk about this. That was, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so if you look at a player like elbow another player in the head in the midfield, it doesn't look great. And especially when it's clearly avoidable. I can't tell intent, but it's avoidable there. And then you see him kicking a player on the ground out of frustration, and you just it's ridiculous. I was very, very harsh of Michael Roscoe a few years ago in 2019 when he elbowed a player. And you don't see him kicking players on the ground. You see him running his mouth quite a bit. And I think that's part of that competitiveness and part of that trying to wind up other players. But we didn't react because I think in years past, 2017 comes to mind. Lamar Batista was subbed on, and within 90 seconds, there were like 2 or 3 red cards. Ami Pineda kicked a player and I think was suspended for, I want to say, 7 games, might have been 3. So, there's some growth on the team here, and there's some level of maturity and that has been lacking in the past. But yeah, hey, if this one moment doesn't kind of sum up Orange County, it's we're having a crap season. We've got one bright spot in Milan Olaski and some player sales and some development working out, and then we're getting kicked while we're down, right? Galaxy's trying to take our stadium while we're in this horrible season. And you know what? We just get up and F those guys and get up in their face and say, no, I'm not down with this. This is a load of feces, and get back with it with 3 points, and get back with it with getting to have a stadium for their season.
I believe the term we like to use is malarkey.
Yes, we're not down with malarkey or whatever the line is. It's been too long.
The interesting thing with that kick from Harvey, right? They had already been red carded. It was a second yellow, but they'd already gotten a red card from a very similar thing earlier, where although that one was kicking the ball into one of Orange County players' body or face or wherever it hit the Orange County player. And then you look at Harvey's reaction when the red card comes up. He's almost shocked that he got a red card. Like, I guess, that's just what to expect with him, right? I mean, he's shocked that he gets the red card. And that's the weird part is, dude, what do you expect when you kick someone in the gut when they're down, right? I get that. The Preston Judd, wasn't malicious. It wasn't dangerous, but it was intentional, kicking the ball at a player's face, and you're already on a yellow card. You don't do something stupid like that. But again, this is probably why you're playing for what's going to basically be a tier 3 team next season if you continue playing with this team. So that's what you get.
It'll be curious to see where these guys go. Both of them are definitely fringe MLS players, and I just personally hope that we never see either of them in an Orange County jersey because both of them are so unlikable.
So overall, were we pleased with the outcome of this match, Dylan?
Yeah, that's another clean sheet, and I know it hasn't been all that long, but we have very, very few clean sheets this season. it's a step in the right direction, albeit too late. And I don't know, maybe that mentality is there. You can see the frustration in the last couple of weeks from players. Ugo was absolutely right to give Milan an earful for not squaring the ball to him, because he does that. He scores that 9 out of 10 times, and it's 2-0, and we sit pretty. We don't have to worry about it at all. They're not coming back from that. Instead, he tries to take it on himself, and I get it. He's looking for that record, and you can get the sense that he knows that he should have squared that ball. And thankfully, we didn't get punished for it, because, it's the season is, we'll say, done. Obviously, there's a few games left, but there's no hope of playoff contention at this point. A lot of these guys are playing for contracts, and if Ugo can get another goal, playing the kind of part-time role that he has, his stats look better. He can either secure a better contract here or a better contract elsewhere. Milan clearly on his way out, and as he should be, because he's had an absolute lights out year. Other guy, don't mess with their money. I get the frustration. They want to win, but they need to do well to secure work elsewhere, because there's a good chance we don't see a lot of these players back next year. And so I understand. Hopefully there's more teamwork in addition to dedication in the next couple games.
Yeah, I just want to give big props to Ugo. Ugo was a big part of that second half resurgence and energy. When he stepped off that pitch, and I actually pulled him aside to interview him, dude looked like he had just came out of the shower. That's how just dripping wet he was from everything he left on the pitch. He had a conversation with Coach Chaplow. Seems like, Chaplow recognizing what Ugo did out there. So hopefully that's noticed. For as much as maybe Ugo has struggled from time at times with Orange County, maybe to not live up to what fans maybe expected out of him, former MVP and whatnot. You can't fault his commitment, his energy in situations like what we saw in that second half against LA Galaxy 2, because dude was playing the high press like his life depended on it. He was pressuring anyone on the defense or goalie or the goalie that had the ball. He was running at them 100%. And I mean, it was his shot that, rebounded off to Milan Oloski that caused that goal, or that was the reason for that goal. Without Ugo's energy out there, I don't think we pull out that victory. I think it ends up being a 0-0 draw or even a potential loss for us. So, although again, statistically, just like we were talking with Alex, there's not many statistics that you see from him that are like those like headline statistics, but without Ugo, you don't have that type of victory in a really tight contested match. So he's doing things that the statistics don't show. And I know, again, the fans see it. I know a lot of the fans were raving about Ugo's performance there in the second half, and knew that was a key part to why Orange County succeeded there.
Yeah, we should be. This is not the Ugo that we saw the first game against El Paso in 2020. This is a completely different person somehow. And look at the amount of dirty work he's been doing. Look at how far deep he's willing to come. And he's very much like target man, hold the ball up, get others involved. And he's, I'll drop 30 yards back into the midfield to give you an outlet, lay off a simple pass, and I'll get back up to the top of the pitch to try and create something. Very, very selfless of him to just run and run and run and run and to create. And so I hope he's, out in Milan, bought him some food, maybe a nice dinner or a beer or two after that game, because he absolutely deserved it.
That's a nice thing. They wear those tracking vests. So at least, back in the days, someone could say, hey, I was running like crazy, and there'd be really nothing to back it up. Now they have statistics that show how much you're running in a game. So Ugo can at least go back and say, hey, look I was doing what you told me to. I was running all over the damn field, making things happen. Let's move on real quick. I don't think we have our score prediction standings available on this. I have no idea who's winning. I'm sure it's still Alan at this point. Although he had a weird random scoring for this week, so maybe he got hurt a little bit. I don't know, Dylan, were you here when we picked his scores?
I was. It was the mileage of them.
The mileage stuff, yeah.
Mile the distance between a flight from San Diego to Sacramento, California.
So
I think
speaking of Sacramento,
for Orange County winning.
Speaking of Sacramento, that's who Orange County plays next. We're not going to really preview the match. We're just going to pick our score predictions because we're running out of time here. I think Alan did go ahead and submit officially a score prediction. So we will take his official submission, which I believe was 2-1 for Sacramento. I don't know if Brad submitted anything. I really don't.
I think he said it was going to be 2-0 Orange County.
I wanted to...
Weekend, 2-2.
2-2. Okay, so Brad says 2-2. Dylan, what do you say?
Man. Ooh, they're going to have their first team back. I'm going to have to go 3-2 Sacramento.
Perfect. Does anyone remember what my prediction was for the LA Galaxy match? Was it like 10-0 or something like that? I can't remember.
I don't remember this.
I want to keep the good things going, so I want to just stick with whatever my last prediction was. So I'll just say this, Brad, whatever my last prediction was, we will mark that for my prediction for this match. Let's keep it going. We got Joseph Figueroa on the stream on YouTube saying it's going to be a draw 2-2. Jen is saying boo. Is that how you say that, Dylan?
Yeah, I think she's probably not so thrilled with me for picking an Orange County loss. I do have
that would be boo, right? I just want to make sure I'm pronouncing that word correctly. You're our word person, our word expert.
I don't know. I'm here. This could have just been you. 2 p.m. kickoff on Sunday, which is weird. And you'd think, oh my God, Sacramento in September, but it's supposed to be raining. So this actually kind of throws some level of chaos into the game. Who knows what's to come? And
Becky says 3-0 to the County Boys.
Yeah, so let's see what happens.
We got some faithfuls here that actually believe that this team can do this. Do you have any important soccer random stuff, or do we want to just go to our random thoughts?
No, I don't think I have any important news.
Awesome. Random thought time. What's your random thought, Dylan?
Dreadfully underprepared. It's not like I didn't know this was coming. I feel it's very strange that random teams are wearing black armbands. Because the Queen died? I'm very confused. Someone please explain it to me, because we're not... I don't know if anyone knows this, but we're not in England. There's actually kind of like this crazy thing in our history, and our producer could hop on because I think he was a history major. I don't think England was super down, or the United States was super down with the monarchy. So consider me a very confused, albeit maybe not that educated person.
You down with the monarchy? Yeah, you know me. You down with the monarchy? Yeah, you know me.
Oh my God! Please stop. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we had a war, so that we wouldn't have to worry about it. I'll have to check on that and get back to you. I do have a degree, but I was more like Manifest Destiny type history than I was, pre-Declaration of Independence.
Oh,
so basically, what you're saying, potentially, Dylan's creating fake news here.
It's possible. And as far as I'm concerned, Manifest Destiny, colonization, monarchies, kind of the same deal. Again, I'm not a smart person. I don't know a lot of things. What's your random thought, Ray? Now that all the English people have left, you can just willingly talk about Tottenham or something.
Go Tottenham. They looked bad against Sporting in the Champions League, so I'm not going to talk about them. Random thought for me is, man, I hope to never have to sit through a city council meeting ever again, and listen through a bunch of stuff. Although it was pretty entertaining. We Andy was there. We were having fun with some of the comments and some of the people's reactions at the meeting. I know there was a lady that was sitting next to one of Orange County fans, Chuck Eldridge, that was very, very invested in the I can't remember if it was the asphalt or the global warming stuff, but she was very invested to the point that she was like making comments under her breath right next to to other people and nodding her head and all that stuff. So it was fun. And then there was also some people coming on the Zoom call that were very, very passionate about some of their arguments. And I think we joked a little bit like, man, they think we're bad. Listen to some of these people. You should be scared of these people talking to you. So, but yeah, hopefully never have to sit through a 4.5, 5, 6 hour long city council meeting ever again. And I think most Orange County fans would agree with me on that. I think Andy would agree with me, our producer. So yeah.
I made it like 30 minutes and it was too boring. I was like, I can't believe, no wonder democracy is at an all-time weak point, because God,
but it is an important part of democracy. It is important to get to make decisions on stuff. We need to find a way to make them more exciting. I don't know if, look at what
between no more city council members being like, great job on taking the initiative on, let's keep this one up in the future. No, I want like a cage match for what they believe in most. Like UFC. All right,
there we go. Mackie corrected on YouTube. Mackie corrected it. It was correct. It was the cybersecurity vendor that the lady was super passionate about.
Hey, Orange County can tell you it's important to not get hacked. Believe me, we would know.
We do know that. It was like a 24-hour period. Let's wrap this thing up. We're way past our time. I want to thank everyone, our guests, Dan Rutstein, from president from Orange County Soccer Club, also defender from Orange County Soccer Club, Alex Villanueva. Brad did his Dylan cameo for this episode earlier on. Dylan for actually hanging out for a full episode. I know Alan is somewhere out there, Larry's somewhere out there, and Andy producing the show. Thanks everyone for listening. We appreciate you listening and following and commenting and all that fun stuff. Stay tuned for more news as it comes. We're going to be still looking at what's going on with the stadium thing. We still have a bunch of docs that are supposed to come through. If we're still interested in finding out more information, we will let you know if there's anything that's juicy and interesting and whatnot. But thank you once again. This is the Orange and Black Soccer Cast, and we are out.